The Miami Marlins have just wrapped up their initial four-game set of the 2025 season with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and what a series it was. The Marlins taking 3 out of 4 against the Pirates, all 3 wins coming in walk-off fashion, the latest one coming on a walk-off wild pitch in which Derek Hill scored from third base. The wild pitch there from Pirates closer David Bednar, sealing the Pirates' fate as they go back home with a 1-3 record. The Marlins 3-1 after 4 games. First place in the NL East. We'll definitely be tracking how long we can say that for throughout the course of the 2025 season. But definitely a really fun series for the Marlins. 3 out of 4 of these games ending in walk-off fashion. You had Kyle Stowers in the first game ending things with an RBI single. Then you had Dane Myers last night coming through with a walk-off hit into the gap. And then Derek Hill, the walk-off wild pitch today, scoring from third base, and just a phenomenal weekend for the Miami Marlins. Could not have really scripted a better start to the season for this team, because you see it being done in a multitude of ways with these guys. Firstly, the pitching through the first 4 games has been phenomenal. Sandy, Gillespie, Belloso, and Max Meyer, all 4 guys put in at least solid starts, kept the team in the games, gave them chances to win it. The bullpen was phenomenal through 4 games. The defense in the outfield was great. The defense in the infield was not so great. But the biggest thing that I think you can take away from these first 4 games is just the difference in approach at the plate for the Miami Marlins in 2025. You see so many of these guys look like they have a plan. Kyle Stowers, a guy who admittedly I wasn't sold on as a big leaguer, when he made the roster this season. Obviously, 4 games isn't going to change that opinion, at least not significantly so. But I will say, if this is the kind of plate discipline that he's going to bring, and he's going to be this guy that gets on base at a 380, 400 clip, you have no choice but to keep him on the big league roster. Otto Lopez, fantastic start to the season, 0 for 4 today, but he really hit some fantastic, hit the ball really hard today. Had a ball go into the gap that was just robbed on a fantastic catch by Brian Reynolds. Hit another one out to the track in the 8th inning of tonight's ball game. Griffin Conine has an outfield assist this year. Makes a fantastic catch out in left field last night. Follows it up with the game-tying home run tonight in the 7th inning. Just a phenomenal weekend for him. Derek Hill comes out of the box really hot, pretty much wins the game by himself, has the infield single in the 9th inning, steals second, goes to third on an errant throw, and then gets home there on the wild pitch. Just a lot to take away from this weekend for the Marlins. Xavier Edwards really hasn't even gotten going yet, and you know that he will, which is just going to be another feather in the cap of this ball club. But for the Marlins to get to 3-1 is really important when you consider what the next 9 games looks like for this team. They've got a 3-game set starting up tomorrow night. They'll have Kyle Quantrill on the bump against David Peterson for the New York Mets as they get 3 in Miami versus the Mets. And then it's on to Atlanta for a 3-game set, and then in New York for another 3-game set. So divisional opponents over the course of the next 3 series here between the Mets twice and the Braves sandwiched in between there. But if this Marlins team, if this 4 games is an indication of anything that I think we're going to see over the course of the summer, it's going to be that these guys have a lot of fight in them. There were very few easy outs throughout the course of this series. You had Wagaman and Bride really kind of struggle. The Wagaman had 2 hits, but there's still a good bit left to be desired there at the corner infield spots. Hopefully Connor Norby gets back in time for this team. But really, it's just been a story right now of everybody kind of holding down the fort. You've got Nick Fortes has started off the season fantastic at the plate. And then behind the plate, the Marlins, they did give up. I think it was 14 stolen bases through 3 games. I know that was a major league record. Definitely not the right side he wants to be on of that record. But today threw out a couple of runners. He threw out Ji-Hwan Bae trying to steal third, and then Endy Rodriguez trying to steal second to end the 7th and the 8th inning, respectively, for the Fish. So a really big series for him. It's just contributions up and down the roster right now. Dane Myers had a fantastic series, had a pair of outfield assists, a 3-hit ball game in the last game, had a hit today, 3 doubles on the season, really should be 4 if you would consider the game-winning hit last night was a single, but really would have been a double under any other normal circumstances, maybe even a triple. But a lot of really, really positive developments for this Marlins team to this point. And the thing is, this is a young team that's doing it. And I think that's part of the really fun part about this is that right now, at the very least, at least 4 games in, Miami looks like it has a fun, young team that's going to have its growing pains. There's no doubts about that. I'm not here to tell you they're going to win the wild card. They're going to win the division. They're going to do this or they're going to do that. But they're a competitive baseball team. I think the fears that this was going to be a historically bad roster that was going to, flirt with winning 40, 45 games. I think that those fears have been proven unfounded. Max Meyer, haven't even gotten a chance to talk about him. He had a fantastic start in this one. Gave up 1 earned run in 5 2/3 innings, 7 strikeouts. The slider's phenomenal. The fastball definitely has a little bit of extra juice to it. Sitting 95, 96, touching 97, 98 occasionally. It's going to be big for him to see if he can continue that. And again, this is a team that's not healthy yet. They're going to be getting back Jesus Sanchez and Connor Norby at the end of the month. They're going to be getting back, hopefully, Ryan Weathers at the end of the month. At some point, Yuri Perez is going to be coming down the pipe. And it's just a matter of, where will this team be when those additions happen? And I think being 3-1 and getting yourself as much cushion as at least you can muster in the early part of the season before you face, the Mets, the Braves, the Mets again, is crucial for this team, number one. And then number 2, kind of seeing the mental makeup of these guys, it paints a, maybe a little bit of a better picture than I think a lot of people thought for this team coming into this season. But that's really just my initial thoughts on the series. You had a lot of timely hitting from this team, not a lot of easy outs. There's not a lot of chase with this team, which you love to see. The pitching was fantastic. The infield defense could use a little bit of help, but the outfield defense is phenomenal. And, my number 1 takeaway is that these guys are going to battle. And, they're young enough that they don't know any better, really. And I think that's one of the most impressive things about this team. As the season goes on, we'll see more of, who should be in the lineup every day, who shouldn't be. I think after 4 games, it's kind of hard to make those distinctions early on, although, you have Jonah Bride, who was one of their better hitters last year, really hasn't even gotten going. If he does get going, this, hope the offense could find even another gear. But I think you look at the depth on this team, there's a lot of really quality players. I don't know if there's a lot of top-end talent on this team. I don't think you can say that at this point. But I do think that you can say that this team's probably a little bit deeper in terms of just major league quality players than they have been last year. You've got guys like Sanoa off the bench who've acquitted himself well. And then you've got guys at least with upside off the bench like Mervis and Pauly and Hicks. And those guys at least present upside. And so I think that this is a year where the Marlins fans have, at least so far, quite a bit to look forward to because you're going to get Weathers back. At some point, Perez is going to come back. You've got guys in the minors who will make their debuts this year, and some of them very good players or very highly touted prospects thinking about Agustin Ramirez being the first guy that comes to mind as a guy that can come up and potentially fill that first base void if Jonah Bride and Eric Wagaman are unable to carry that torch for the Miami Marlins. So really fun 4-game set. Just wanted to get on and talk about it a little bit. 3 walk-offs in 4 games. Just a phenomenal start to the season for the Marlins ahead of a really tough stretch that's going to tell us a little bit more about this young ball club, and we will be here chronicling all of it for you. You can follow me on X/Twitter at Eric Wiedeke, and also be sure to like, comment, and subscribe here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel, covering the Marlins, covering the Heat, covering the Dolphins, covering the Hurricanes, the Panthers, anything South Florida sports, you name it, we've got it. You can also catch me on the Scouting the Fence podcast every Friday night, Thursday, Friday night, okay, depending. But you can also catch me there with Hussam and Coach Eric, so be sure to check that out as well. We also do the prize pick stuff. Be sure to check that out as well. Use promo code 5 for $50 in bonus funds on your first entry of $5 or more. So thank you guys for watching. I will keep up the content here. Hopefully the Marlins keep up the wins and they can make this a really fun summer in a year that was not expected to be much. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.